You hear that bird singing out up there? In my language, we call him Jakui. My second grandson, his language name is Jakui. He's got that connection.
I mean, you're looking at rainforest right through to quite dry habitats, so it's an incredibly diverse ecosystem.
There's a big range of vegetation in the Upper Mitchell, right from up here where we are up in the back of the rainforest. We're just over the western slopes of the range, and these species that are up here in the rainforest slowly move out into open country, the eucalypt country. But the most important part to us about the Mitchell River is the riparian area. Okay, so it's a corridor along the creek and it goes down past Mutchilba, past out to Dimbulah and that vegetation type, and then it goes back up to the other areas. So there's linkages all the way up and down the river, rainforest species, pioneer species, riparian species, and they're really, really important to the health of the forest, corridors, and for the health of the river.
So the Mitchell River Group is the cockatoo at the top of the catchment, as they say, because whatever happens up here sort of accumulates and goes all the way out to the Gulf of Carpentaria down at Kowanyama.
We've got an enormous abundance of species, every group, and huge numbers of each of those groups.
This area has always been seen as an extraction zone. All the way from the early settlers that came up to do the gold rush, that's all about extraction. And then they move from there to other sort of metals, they move to coal, that's all extraction. And then when you run cattle, of course, you're extracting value out of the soil. You're growing grass and converting that into cattle. And then they shift over to tobacco and cane and this sort of thing. It's all about pulling things out of the land.
Well, the MDIA it stands for the Mareeba Dimbulah Irrigation Area, and it's basically fed from a dam at Tinaroo through a series of channels that was built in the 50s. It supports irrigated tropical agriculture. There's approximately 30 crops grown in the region.
From bananas, which is the far biggest in dollar terms, mangoes, avocados, lychees, longhans, a lot of the tropical fruits, a range of vegetable crops that we grow.
Across the whole Mareeba Dimbulah irrigation area, there's nearly 10,000 hectares of land under cane. Of that, probably not quite half of it would fall within the Mitchell catchment or the Gulf area catchment.
The main challenges faced by the growers here is low soil fertility. They've also got high input costs like water, energy, high labour costs, in some cases long distance from market. They've also got challenges of low commodity prices.
It's all of your irrigation costs, your electricity costs, your transport costs. Basically everything to get that product to market has just tripled, skyrocketed, gone up by 50% over the last few years.
The main environmental issues would be water quality issues. We've also got saline water table in some areas.
Salinity problems, it's happened over time, but it's from inappropriate land clearing and mass land clearing, and then flood irrigation. That's probably the main thing.
There's the legacy of abandoned mines, which could be leaching toxins into the water.
This is all full of sulphides. If you left your car here long enough, it'll rust down to nothing. Well, the kids used to swim here. Yeah, it used to be a permanent water hole here. Well, it would have been a leftover from the mining, as well as from the rehab work they've done on some of the mines. The dirt ends up in the creeks.
All those grasses that were brought in for cattle and may be good for cattle, but they jumped the fence, and most of them were spread by machinery. And they're a real issue because not only did they replace native species, but they also changed fire regimes in the forest, and rainforest and riparian forests are very, very susceptible to altered fire regimes.
We've also got pests and weeds, so feral pests like pigs, cats.
Our culture is going this direction, but the landscape is reverberating onwards with its damages and effects. We haven't changed fast enough to keep up with the changing landscape. I think that's really the fundamental problem.
Well, the main approach is we use a one-on-one extension training and mentoring approach to guide growers into more sustainable land management practices And the philosophy of the project is basically a more efficient farm is a more resilient farm, and a more efficient farm has both natural resource management and also production outcomes. The main benefit is improved efficiency, so that's water use efficiency, crop nutrition and energy efficiency.
To get some trees into ground to try and lower the water table, because we have salt issues here, so we've planted 3 or 4 species that are salt tolerant, water tolerant, and hopefully over time they'll lower the water table.
People want it to continue as a generational thing. They want their families to stay on the land. They want that land to stay in their families. It's just a matter of how can we farm smarter, how can we get more educated so that it is sustainable, really, yeah.
I've been asked how do I see sustainability, and for me it's like, you know, a chair that's got a few legs, you know, and if you cut one of those legs away, you know, the whole chair collapse, and you know, whoever's on it comes down with it. So one for me is, you know, the environmental side is feeding the soil. The other one is the commercial side. It needs to make financial sense. It needs to make money to the farmer.
A number of farmers are looking at alternative power sources and making conscious decisions about how they're using their power and what sort of tariffs they're on.
Education, I think. So for me, yeah, definitely getting out there and talking to people about, you know, using less chemicals and perhaps planting up more green space where we can, so to provide corridors for species to be able to move between areas.
Farmers who are able to embrace that and to really be sustainable will still be here in the future, and that involves change. That involves sometimes changing the way we think.
I tried to explain to a lot of people how we are connected to country, and when you break that connection and when you fail to maintain that connection, it has an impact on your well-being.